Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Fatal Attraction Part 2. This is the tragic life of Travis Alexander. When we last left off, we would talk about how when Travis Alexander was 11 years old, he would eventually had enough of his mother's abuse and would eventually go to his grandmother's house, Norma, and would tell her that he was going to be living there from now on. And the rest of his 8 siblings would actually follow suit. And they had just decided that they just were not going to live with someone that was constantly abusing them or using drugs. And Travis would later describe his grandmother from a quote made by Abraham Lincoln and would say, "Everything I am and everything I owe to my angel grandmother." Norma and her husband were members and regular attenders of the Mormon church, and when the kids would actually move in with them, they would actually introduce this passion to them, and Travis would quickly become a part of the Mormon faith. And a lot of his family and friends would say that his faith was a big part of his life. Travis would later say that after he became a Mormon, that he finally found something where he finally belonged. And his classmates and friends would often describe Travis as someone that would find solace in not only serving his church, but God and his community. And while Travis attended church in the Mormon faith growing up, he would create a passion on going on mission trips. And after he had graduated high school, he would actually go on quite a few mission trips that he would actually be compensated for. And this would just be a big passion of his. By 2000, Travis would move to Riverside, California, where he was a substance abuser tester in a lab, and for a part-time job, he was actually working at a bookstore that ironically sold self-help books. And around this time, Travis was kind of thinking of which steps to take because he had a passion of becoming a motivational speaker, which would actually show in a lot of his actions later on down the road. And it's around this time that he would come across a certain book for a certain type of career. Travis would, while working at this bookstore, come across a pamphlet for a company called Prepaid Legal, and which was ironic at the time because he was kind of looking at these different books where he was working at as a way to kind of create some financial tools to make more money. And he would come across Prepaid Legal, which was a company that bases your income solely on the amount of recruits that you get. And the more recruits you get, the more money you make. Not saying it is, but it sounds very oddly familiar about a certain type of business that's shaped like a pyramid. But I digress. But Prepaid Legal would actually be a pretty smart investment for Travis. He would start little by little and trying to recruit a little bit of people here and there, and eventually he was accumulating so much income he was actually able to quit both of his jobs, because at this point in time he had recruited so many people that he was accumulating around $200,000 a year. To say that he was all in with this company is quite the understatement. Prepaid Legal would be a giant passion of his that he would not only share with people that he would try to recruit for his business, but he would share this passion with his friends at church. And he would be the kind of person that not only would just be recruiting people constantly, he would be attending every single convention meetings that Prepaid Legal would have. Travis would be doing so well with his company that he would actually decide to make a move, and he would move to Mesa, Arizona, where he would purchase a 3-story house. And around this time, Travis was honestly living his best life. He had a 3-story house. He was wearing custom-made suits and driving around in BMWs. It's also said that he spent most of his time with friends watching UFC fights. And even though he had become very, very successful in his business, he still stayed humble to his faith and his religious upbringing. He would later make quotes that God had blessed him so well that he had a responsibility to share his fortune, which is actually kind of a really awesome thing about Travis. And it was just part of just this being better mindset that Travis had that honestly was so inspirational about him. By all accounts, it would seem that Travis Alexander had everything that anyone would want. And honestly, there only seemed to be one thing that was really missing in his life. And that would be the one thing that he truly desired more than anything. And being the fact that he was a Mormon, it would make it all the more. Because Mormons have this emphasis on family. In fact, family is such an important thing in the Mormon faith that when a person or a single person turns the age of 18, they're put into these single people wards with other like-minded Mormons within the church. And it's a way for these single kids to kind of integrate and mingle and have Bible studies until they decide if they want to date that person or not. But there's kind of a restriction or a time limit in the Mormon faith. You see, they would put these kids in these wards until they're about the age of 30. And by that time, the Mormons pretty much consider your chances of starting a family are pretty much null. So after a person in the Mormon faith turns 30, they're then put into a family ward, which is filled with nothing but family members or older singles, which pretty much makes your chances of finding a mate to have a family with lower and lower. Travis's friends, or more specifically, his closest friends that he was also business associates with, Chris and Sky Hughes, would later say that there really would only be three main women that were really a big part of his life. The first would be Deanna Reed. Travis and Deanna would actually begin dating in 1998 when the couple was 20 and 21. And they would actually date until Deanna would actually take a mission trip. And when Deanna left for this mission trip, this would be around 2001. But Travis would not be single long. After the breakup in 2001 of the same year, he would quickly start dating Linda Ballard. But this union would not be very long, as Linda did not really like Travis's passion for prepaid legal. And she would eventually say that she would break off the relationship because Travis refused to go to college and try to get a conventional job. After the two would break up, Travis would get back with Deanna because she had gotten back from her mission trip from Costa Rica at that time. Friend of Travis, Sky Hughes, would later make a statement that Deanna was probably the most important person in Travis's life, mainly because no one in his entire life had actually loved or showed him love the way Deanna did. And it's because of this love that they were always in each other's life. Travis would even make the statement that whoever he did marry would have to accept that Deanna was a part of his life. And at the same time, Sky Hughes would later say this is the main reason why he had so many problems with love, because he never fully moved on from Deanna. But regardless of this, they were constantly each other's person and each other's rock, and they were always in each other's lives, whether they were dating or not. And while this was going on, Travis and Deanna would make one cardinal no-no in the Mormon faith and would begin having premarital sex. This would go on for about a year, and they would try to keep it a secret until their convictions would just get the better of them, and they would confess everything to a bishop. And once they would confess everything to the bishop, they would make them be banned from the Mormon church. Deanna would be banned from the church for about 9 months, where Travis was banned for a whole year. After the breakup, Travis was around 28 years old. He would eventually date a couple girls after Deanna, but nothing serious ever came of it. And before he knew it, his 30th birthday would come and go with that leaving his chances of ever finding someone in the Mormon church, in the Mormon faith, and starting a family.